Good afternoon, everybody. My bear with me 1 second. Welcome in, welcome in. It's been a long weekend, another weekend full of news. We've got a lot of news. I have to see, like my AirPods. Let me see. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, so welcome in, welcome in. It was on mute, and I wasn't sure if you could hear. I can't hear the sound from my computer on my AirPod here, so I'm hoping you all can hear that on my computer. Hello. Come on in, have a seat, get cozy, get comfy. Candace is going to be on in a little while. Who watched the game and who watched the halftime show? Okay, good. Thank you, Jeff. You could hear the whole time. I am better put my phone on mute, though, shouldn't I do that? And hopefully my AirPod is still connected to sound here. But say hello in the chat. Tell me where you're watching from, and let's start talking about it. We've got just a little bit of time before Candace Owens comes on live, and we have so much to talk about. I had talked about last Thursday about doing a different format. I'm not doing it today because, again, I was elbows deep in the, Jeffrey files and looking at a bunch of stuff there. And so I am going to pull it together at some point during this week so that I can do two separate shows. So I'll do the pre-show first, where we warm up and we talk about all the things that we want to talk about here, including previous shows of Candace and all of that. But then we will hang up on this one and then go into another live where we can still see Candace's show and then talk in the chat, where it's a lot slower here for us all to connect. Hey, Texas Jats. Hello, welcome in. Please, on your way in, hit the thumbs up. Give me hearts periodically throughout the broadcast in the section next to the chat, so it alerts the algorithm that we're here. Thumbs up the video, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. So, did you watch the Super Bowl or the halftime show, Jats? If so, tell me which one you watched and tell me everything of your thoughts. So, we watched the Super Bowl, and I say watched very loosely. We did more eating of queso. My husband made queso, and I had too much of that, and my stomach's not super happy with me today about all the queso because of the spice and the cheese and the chips and the grease. Anyway, so we don't watch the Super Bowl, like we're not like zoned in, but we're paying attention to it. We're on our devices. We're doing this. I was, still working, and as I always am, looking at news and all the different social medias, and oh boy, were people fighting about the halftime show, weren't they? And afterwards, it was crazy. So I was going to tune in to Erika Kirk's TPUSA halftime show with Kid Rock. I decided at the last minute not to, because we were talking about, well, do we really want to give them the numbers? Do we want to really give them our viewership because that's going to help them? And the more I thought about that, I'm like, yeah, I want to do it for research, but really, I'm just helping them, and I don't want to do that because I do not believe that they're a great organization or that they're even anything that they purport to be. No Super Bowl game for Jats. No Super Bowl game. I don't like Bad Bunny music. Well, we watched the halftime show. We stopped, we were playing Aggravation at the table. If you guys know what that game is, we had our son and daughter-in-law over, and we were eating and watching the Super Bowl and playing Aggravation. We stopped anyways to watch the Super Bowl, the halftime show, and it was good. I liked it. You couldn't understand a word that he's saying in Spanish, which doesn't bother me. I just would like to know what the lyrics say. But somebody had pointed out on some other post, they're like, well, what other songs can you dance to? I mean, there's really good songs you don't understand all the words, and it's still a bop. But I actually enjoyed it. It was fine. It was better than some other halftime shows, which I believe, and in for my taste, have been a little bit more racy than I'd like. A lot more, kind of gross. I did not like the J Lo. If you guys ever watched the J Lo performance at halftime, I did not care for that one at all. It was with Shakira. It just sounded like a big scream fest in competition between them. It was gross. I did not enjoy those some of the past halftime shows, but this one I felt like it was good. I felt like it was a good message, as like, let's just all be together. We're all America. Let's love one another, and that's the loudest, the most generous and most profound statement we can make is love. So let's see. Jat says, I like the beat of the music, but once I started listening to his lyrics, I stopped listening to him. Yeah, not at the halftime show, though. Do you speak Spanish? What was he saying? Can you tell us? Because I tried to put on closed captions. Oh my gosh, our TDS cable was bad. It was buffering. We had to call if you guys that have been here for a minute know that my TDS service is terrible and it makes me so upset. Hi, Loretta. Let's see. I hadn't even heard of Bad Bunny until last week. I am 38-year-old female from New Zealand. Is that NZ? Is that New Zealand? So not sure if I'm his target audience. Is NC New Zealand? Sorry if I'm not very bright about, that abbreviation, Loretta. But yeah, I'm not like a Bad Bunny fan, but the thing is before the whole show, people had started looking at the Kid Rock lyrics. Yes. Okay, I'm not as dumb as I thought. Excuse me. So the thing is that I had seen Andy Signor from Popcorn Planet. He had done this post about Kid Rock putting out a song from Osmosis Jones, which is a kids movie, which I remember our kids watching at the time. Although the lyrics weren't fully in the movie when it played, it was in the soundtrack, and he's talking about, liking girls underage. The guy was, at the time this song came out, was 30 years old. He wrote it with some other people. So somebody had posted, I posted about it on YouTube, and somebody said Kid Rock was 18 when he wrote that song. It's not true. I went in and looked at the copyright, and even if by a long shot he was 18 when he wrote the lyrics, which he wasn't 18 when he wrote the lyrics. He was 30 years old when they put out that song. So Jats, what did the song say? You should go back, because the lyrics on the Bad Bunny, when I tried to put it on, it was going too fast, and I gave up at that point. I'm like, okay, I don't even care. But I could move to the music. I felt like moving. Anyway, so I had posted about that, turning, and then some other people had commented in my post there, like, well, Turning Point USA, is it a Christian organization? Oh, yes, it is, and that's what they say. They say they're a Christian organization. They're a faith-based organization. They should probably, in my opinion, they should vet those people a bit better, because, yeah, we are, especially in this climate, well, in any climate, but now people are caring more about what's coming out of the Jeffrey files. So that's really important, and people want to still make light of that, which is really sick and odd and weird to me. Um, so you didn't see the show, Jats. Yeah, I know, but hey, go. You could. How about you sing? How about we do karaoke with Jats, and then you sing them for us in English? We did karaoke. We did karaoke this weekend. It was my daughter-in-law's birthday, 22nd birthday, and so her wish, she loves Hamilton, so they brought over a karaoke. Chat says now they brought over a karaoke machine, and so we had some fun with some karaoke. Maybe I'll post some pictures of that. But so we sang, definitely not in Spanish. I am Spanish, but I do not speak it. I know some words, mostly all the cuss words in Spanish, but yeah, I know some colors. I know the numbers 1 through 10. That's about it. But anyway, yeah. So speaking of the Jeffrey files, so I was in there. I've been doing this dive, as Candace has talked about Rob Sitka. Um, I'm probably getting that name wrong. Anyway, you guys correct me. I'm sure you remember better than I do. I'm always going to rely on you for my memory for help there. But anyways, so I started looking at that, which led me down, more of looking into Peter Thiel. As you know, I've been looking into Larry Ellison and Peter Mandelson and all of that stuff. But yeah, so today I was looking through Peter Thiel and his messages with Epstein. Peter Thiel is working really closely with this Stargate program that Trump loves, with Larry Ellison and the AI and all of that stuff. So Peter Thiel is in the Epstein files, and there was some interesting things I'm finding in there. So I'm putting together a file so that I can share with you as the week goes on, like everything that I'm finding that to me looks so far. A lot of the emails and messages going back and forth between Jeffrey and Peter Thiel is him trying to get him to the island, but there's some really interesting stuff in there that I want to share with you. And you could tell, especially after the arrest, that Peter Thiel was being a little more careful and a little more cautious about wanting to hang out with Jeffrey. And in fact, he started having his assistant email Jeffrey back and forth rather than him personally. But there are some things in there. If you guys have been keeping your eye on social media, you've probably heard of all the secret slang, or secret words that they're using for what they do with the underage people, and what they call that, as such as like pizza, cheese pizza, all that stuff. So there has been a thing coming out about jerky being mentioned in the Epstein files. And I have to be honest, there was a lot of like 380 some different attachments with the word jerky in it. They went through this period of really being into jerky. And as I was, scanning through, I was trying to go really fast because a lot of times these are duplicate PDFs. So jerky, some people are thinking could be, slang or code word for flesh. So they're asking for jerky. They're wondering, why are people talking about jerky and wanting jerky so much? And I have to be honest, I don't see what they're saying. It's very possible that's what it is. But to me, it looks like at that point in time, Jeffrey was on a high protein diet and really concerned about that and sharing more about that, and wanted organic and high quality meat. Definitely could be code. To me, it looks like literally he's just trying to have a lot of protein. But I have to keep looking. Like I said, there was 300 and some PDFs about that, so there's a lot to get through. It's so tedious going through all this paperwork, um, and there's got to be a better way. But anyways, let's see. Loretta, my kids knew who he was. I guess I'm glad they don't speak Spanish. And have you watched the documentary Candy Girl by Fiona Barnett? That was the moment my eyes were open to the sickness of the world. No, I haven't. You know what? And I'm going to write a note about that, because as we do these shows and you guys talk about stuff in the chat, I can't go back and see our stuff in the live chat when it uploads to YouTube, which was really disappointing to me, because you guys put some really good suggestions in that. But I'll write that down. Candy Girl. What is that about by Fiona? But did you know that that guy that Candace was talking about, that Rob Sipka, she was talking about, he's an author, Return or Babylon, the Babylon series. So, anyways, he died from COVID. He was an anti-vaxxer. He was put in the hospital. They were doing a protocol on him that his family feels like killed him, and they think, from what I can tell, they think it was, kind of targeted and intentional. But anyway, Loretta says it's on YouTube and references Nicole Kidman and shady things in Australia. Yeah, Australia is coming up a lot. This thing is worldwide. And as I was listening to Rob Sipka's documentary today, as I was getting ready, and I was kind of half listening and everything. Hi, Hope, and this reaches, as we're finding out, the powers that be, the financial institutions, all of our organizations that really, really run the world are stretched out past the United States. So it's no surprise that Australia is in there. That's unfortunate, but we're going to find that, I think, more and more. Thomas Massey is saying that he will name names and name off all the names in the Jeffrey files, because the Congress gets to view the files unredacted. And I've been pitching a fit saying that's not acceptable. I am no longer willing to say I trust you all. I trust you to tell me what's in there. I need to see for myself. And I think the all of America, I think the world wants to see for themselves. I think we're done trusting the trust me, bro, right? So, Loretta, it's hard to watch her telling what she went through. Okay, thanks for the warning. I will look at that. All of this stuff is really hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard to listen to because it's so far reaching and so far. I think we're ready to hear it, even though it's hard, because for so long, while everybody was a conspiracy theorist and it wasn't true, and more people are going, oh my gosh, this is true. This they're really starting to see that this is probably true, and and the people that are running the show are not great people. How long do we have before Candace goes on here? She's going on at 4. What time is it? Oh, she's on at 4:30. 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to share with you, if you didn't see this Erika Kirk video, um, she is melting down a little bit, which I feel like, I'm wondering if if it's going to be worse. But this is a talk that she gave to the high school students in Genoa, Illinois, just around the corner from where we are. Um, but check it out. Let's see, we've got 4 minutes. We've got time to watch this. Cool. And a lot of times, guys, I'll warn you, when I play stuff on X, it's not as loud as I'd like, so you might have to turn up the volume. But here, watch Erika. This isn't her best moment.
Charlie lived his life in a way where he was not afraid to speak. He chose to use his voice for something so powerful. And I want you guys to understand that every decision will make.
She's sort of glitching out and she looks like she's a mess. So I don't know if this is intentional. Well, I know the pauses and her seeming like she's glitching out isn't intentional, but the look, some high schools, kids go to school in their pajamas. So she's looking a bit disheveled.
Make a mark on your soul. It will. So as a young man, know that one day you're going to be a father. Know that the way that you treat women, the way that you live your life every single day, it matters. Ladies, be ladies, be modest, Live your life in a way that's honoring. Honor your parents. Build something greater than just focusing on what's next in your life. Don't compromise your character. You guys might think it's great to go along with the crowd. You guys might think it's great to laugh at certain things that aren't funny. But just know that people are watching. And one day you might be in a position of leadership that people will look back on your life 12, 13, 15 years, and they'll say, wow, you made those choices, you made those decisions. Yeah, in those moments. But my aunt used to tell me, never do something that you don't want on the front page of a newspaper. Live your life in that way. Not because you're being constricted, not because you're afraid, but because you hold yourself to a higher standard. And I want to encourage you guys to do that. And I also want to encourage you guys, don't compromise your character. There's no reason to do that. You might think it's cool to insult people. You might think, the man that took my husband's life, he made a choice over a course of time. He made the wrong decision consistently over his life. And so I want you guys to understand that even though your choice might be small, I don't care if it's deciding whether or not to put the grocery cart back in the stand or something as grand as finding a way to forgive someone who's deeply hurt you. Those choices leave a mark on your soul for eternity. People are watching. One day your kids will watch you. And so I again am so grateful to be here because this is where it all started for Charlie. And it was always so special for him because he understood that there's something so much greater when you sorry, it's just been really emotional these past few days. I apologize.
So
Something that's
you know what I've noticed in the past week or two, that when she says Charlie's name, she's struggling. She's struggling when she says his name, and it's like she has to choke out the words. Um, and she did here, like she's looking rough and sounding rough, and yeah.
so important when even with understanding with your character on the internet, it is so easy to hide behind a keyboard. It is so easy to press send after typing something out that you think will have no ramifications, but it does. There's someone on the other end of that computer, the other end of the phone.
Computer.
And so as you go about your life and understanding that choices do mold you, I just want to encourage you guys to be bold and fearless. Not everyone is called to be on the front lines. That's okay.
Yeah, so that was one of her rougher times, and I feel like the same was when she was addressing the TPUSA family in those videos. Whenever she talked about Charlie and stuff, she'd get stopped. It would stop her up. She I Yeah, I feel like she might be struggling more and more to contain this. So, and I know she's going at some pretty fast speeds in her what she's doing, her appearances, her public appearances, and all of that. And so I wasn't just talking about her looks. Hope said, well, if you're talking about her looks, yeah, I'm not just talking about the one thing though. It's more of the whole picture because she's not as glammed up. Her hair, this isn't a super clear video that you can see in this one. I've struggled to find a really clear one of her close up. But her hair is looking like she just kind of rolled out of bed. She looks like, I had mentioned last Thursday, Macbeth, when she's like out, down, spot, when she starts to lose it, right? She really starts to lose it after that murder. And, um, maybe it's starting to get to her. And I can only hope so, because then hopefully then truth would come out of that. If that's the case, that would be my hope. Although I hold out little hope that she's going to actually turn it around and do what she should do, because I think money is the idol. I think money is the god there, money and power, and winning and in trying to make sure that we don't find out the truth about things. So yeah, so Candace is going to talk about the halftime show too, and what is this? Her what does she says? Conservative media freaks out over Bad Bunny's Super Bowl performance. TPUSA hosts their own halftime show, and Seth Dillon discusses me during the Religious Liberty Commission's hearing on anti-Semitism in D.C. Guys, and as I look up all the names that are coming out, as I go through the Epstein files, and I see a name, every time I see a name of mention, I write down the name. And also, I've plugged in obviously people from TPUSA, and there are some people, but more in the vein of the fraud that they were doing for the Trump election. There was a lot of fraud that happened there. If you don't know, there were indictments made against Jake Hoffman and Tyler Boyer in that whole election thing. There was also the head of the election committee for Trump. He's in the files. So I've got, like I said, it's like going through weeds in here. It's a mess. It's a lot, and so hopefully as we all come together with the information, we'll get some pretty clear pictures. Although, did you see Trump's? There was a post on social media, and a reporter was asking Trump if they were going to put together and have a meeting about the Jeffrey files. And I'm saying Jeffrey because I don't want to say his last name too much, because I think YouTube doesn't like it and will throttle down views and stuff. But they laughed. Trump had a smirk on his face, and as he saw, Trump's a follower, and so as the people around him laughed about the question, or whatever it seemed like they were laughing about the question, he smirked, and he was just like, whatever, maybe, do you know about if we're putting a meeting together? Maybe you should. It was pretty gross. And the view on this is pretty sick, like that people aren't taking it more seriously, and aren't people were more mad about Bad Bunny and Kid Rock than I've seen people react about the files and the people in them and the government and the leaders that are in there. So, anyways, yeah, it did. It sounds like she was trying to remember what she may have said previously for like she's losing track. She's losing it. She's losing it. And as soon as she's not valuable, Erika, you're going to be gone. You need to get on the right side of this, girl. Erika, get on the right side of this. I don't think that'll work, but whatever. She doesn't listen to little Teresa Bruce either. So she listens to Candace. They watch. That clip was wild. Yeah, the Donald Trump clip, it was pretty disturbing. And the fact that he's still saying he wants everybody to forget it, and calling on Republicans to stop talking about it is pretty gross. It's pretty sick. So, the fact that they're not coming out and they're not kicking down doors. Okay, everybody, are you keeping track of the Savannah Guthrie's, is it Nancy Guthrie, that whole thing? Looks like Candace is probably going to start here pretty soon. Her thing hasn't come up, but I'm refreshing my screen to make sure we don't miss anything. Um, anyway, so they're asking now for $6 million. The money of the ransom amount has gone up to $6 million. It's what they're saying is it sounds like Savannah is talking more in code, so whatever's being said there is really interesting. And of course, the internet's all over it like we are, because we have to do the job of everybody else. So, we're like, what's going on? This is a really weird time that this would be happening, especially with keeping in mind that Savannah was one of the journalists who were talking about the Epstein files and talking to victims, and she has a lot of connections. So, and they want to keep the media under control. So it makes you wonder: was Savannah wanting to do another story? Was she wanting to dig into this, and was she making a stink if they were telling her no? Uh, you know, have you guys been keeping up on that? And we're going into the second week of that happening, but those videos are heartbreaking. And now Savannah's not going to the Olympics. And I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this summer, over in DC, the Patriot Games and the whole celebration. I wouldn't go. You couldn't pay me enough to show up there in person. I would say I'm recommending don't go. Do not go, because I don't know what's going to happen, but it feels like, I don't know. Is this my conspiracy theorist brain taking over? I don't feel like I always go there, not deep, but something I'm like this, I don't know, something about this just doesn't feel right. And I would be scared that something's going to happen, or, they're going to do another mass public, display of power, either, with a terrorist attack. I probably shouldn't have said that for YouTube, but some sort of thing. There are all, I don't know what kind of speculations are going on now. I haven't even looked into that. I might have to Google that when we get done here, is go on and see what people are saying, what they think is going to happen this summer at the celebration of our 250th anniversary. But anyway, I would say I'm going to stay far away from DC when that's happening, because I just don't trust it. Hope says, yeah, it doesn't feel right. People definitely have something to be scared of because it feels so common now. Sad. It's sad that we can't trust the state of the world, and we can't, trust them to tell us the truth in our eyes, especially now with AI, which is, I think, by design. They want us confused and to question. That's the enemy's goal, is to always keep you in fear and to keep you confused. And so anytime, that's what I was saying. Know your enemy is super important. So that's why I'm digging into the Epstein files, looking into the what Rob has says about what he says about the Babylon and all that stuff. So I'm going to keep. I got the book. I also got the Larry Ellison book, like the difference. What's the difference between God and Larry Ellison? God doesn't think he's Larry Ellison. So yeah, I did have some files I wanted to show you, but I'm worried to show you because here we go. Candace is coming on, and I'll add her. Whoops. There we go. And let's make this bigger. Thank you for being here. Hit the thumbs up, notifications, subscribe. Please hit the heart next to the chat so that the algorithm knows we are here. And why isn't this bigger? I want to go like this. There we go. I got it right. Yes. Okay. I don't think you guys can hear this because I can't hear it.
Supposed to pick a side. Pick a side. Whose side are you on? Were you team Bad Bunny? If so, you're supposed to come out and away hating the racist right. Maybe you were team Turning Point USA. Did you oblige and turn off your television sets, open your laptops, and watch the alternative halftime performance? Which the word on the street is, if you did not enjoy it, if you did not enjoy every moment of it, then it's because you don't love Jesus, of course.
Or
of course, every
America.
single time. That's the new Turning Point talking point. So welcome back to Candace.
Let's go. Jets always says, let's go. Let's go. Hi, Cisco. Bad Bunny.
Okay, so you guys can actually check the records on this one. I am not, nor have I ever been, a conservative stereotype when it comes to the Super Bowl halftime performance. I feel like it's a bit of a fad now on the right. You watch the Super Bowl for the sole purpose of complaining about the halftime performance and why it didn't live up to what you think that it should be. I notoriously defended Rihanna back in 2023 when she was literally just wearing red. And conservatives made it seem like she was trying to channel the devil. She was actually pregnant and wasn't even moving around that much. I'm also a Shakira stan, so I thought her and J-Lo had a fun halftime performance. I'm not really one of these people who are naturally averse to culture. I also like and listen to Spanish music, as you guys know. Mark Anthony, that's why I had to come out for my boy. When they were saying stuff about him and what he did at a wedding after 11 p.m. No, he should not be responsible for that as a Latino man. I like the old school stuff, Aventura, the old Mark Anthony music. Hasta ayer, hasta ayer. I grew up listening to all
Candace.
of it. So when Bad Bunny was announced for the Super Bowl, I was like, okay, let's see what he does. I do not know one Bad Bunny song. I'm going to be honest. I've been very clear with you guys. I am not cool or hip anymore, just like I don't know any of Sabrina Carpenter's music. I'm not trying to stay up with the culture, but I know enough to know that he's very popular. Okay. Now, the pros of his performance, I'm going to say something good about it. I actually thought the set design was really cool. It was one of the cooler ones that I've seen in a very long time. I loved that it looked like a little pueblo, a little Spanish town, that the mercado, the bodega. And to be clear, I think it felt obviously very authentic to him and how he grew up, but not just to him and how he grew up, but also in America. If you guys don't know that, this is how a lot that looks familiar to me and the way that I grew up. Like, you know, the corner bodega. It's a real thing. And I thought very obviously that that's what he was trying to convey, is his own experience, because that's what artists do. And by the way, like I said, all around the United States, these communities exist. The performers and the dancers did a very great job. You could tell that they rehearsed a lot. They were not just winging it. And I actually quite enjoyed the little electrical line thing that they were doing. I thought it was clever and it was fun. Now, the downside is that it was not in English. It was not in English. And therefore, the audience could not emotionally connect. If you were not a Spanish speaker, you could not emotionally connect to that performance.
A little bit, yeah.
It was really all in Spanish, save for Lady Gaga's portion when she was sort of doing the bad salsa, which was very American. You know, she wasn't exactly hips don't lie. And I was like, okay, now, is that Bad Bunny's fault? Obviously not, because he was booked. And he is very clear. English is his second language. If you watch his interviews, he kind of speaks Spanglish. He's learning more English now. His music is exclusively in Spanish. So the expectation, who are you actually upset with for booking his performance? I agree that it would be nice to have an English-speaking halftime. That makes sense, because everyone actually in America should speak English. But he didn't book himself, okay? Actually, I looked into it. The person that controls who gets to perform at the halftime is Jay-Z for some reason. Jay-Z in partnership with the NFL. Jay-Z doesn't speak Spanish, but Jay-Z booked him. And for a very long time, it's been clear that Jay-Z's got some sort of a relationship with the feds. I tend to believe a lot of the stuff that Kanye said. And so, like I said, this feels a bit like, let's get both sides warring with one another. Now, in terms of whether or not this was a successful performance, well, we'll just look at the raw numbers here. Nielsen estimates that 128 million people watched the Super Bowl game last night, forgetting the halftime performance. That number increased to 135 million viewers during the halftime performance. So people got up and were like, I don't want to watch I'm not watching the whole Super Bowl match, but I'm going to go ahead and tune in to the halftime performance, because people are always outraged the next morning and I want to know what they're speaking about. So 7 million more people began tuning in to watch the halftime performance, according to the early reports. So Bad Bunny, objectively, whether you like him or not, he had a successful Super Bowl halftime performance in terms of the metrics. This means that the, I would say, unnecessary Super Bowl political lines that were drawn by Turning Point USA was not successful in terms of drawing people away from the NFL's viewership. Now, in case you missed it, When Bad Bunny was announced, there was immediately backlash because he has worn a dress, something that I'm very against, because to me, it is obvious why they find these men and they put them in dresses. This gets into theology regarding which he's probably not aware of. If I'm being honest, if I sat down with Bad Bunny and I spoke to him about where this comes from and why they are putting him in a dress to emasculate him, he's not recognizing this as somebody else's faith. It is. I find it to be wrong. It is in essence Kabbalistic and satanic. We've discussed that. But this is the reason that people were immediately outraged. So everyone was saying, oh, it's very obvious what he's going to do. He's going to make the show unnecessarily gay. And because of that, Turning Point USA announced that they would produce an alternative, quote unquote, all-American Super Bowl halftime show. And President Trump tweeted. They had very people all across the political sphere on the Republican side were tweeting about, hey, turn your TV off. No, nobody turned their TV off. We can say no one did that. Actually, the numbers jumped. Okay, but this was their reason that they went into this. Now, Bad Bunny did not, in fact, wear a dress at the Super Bowl. He didn't, which, like I said, I'm very against that.
I don't think he made it gay
I don't
either.
think we should be intentionally emasculating men. So that leaves us with Turning Point USA's performance. Now, we should be clear, it was a pre-record. Okay, so Bad Bunny was performing live. Turning Point USA pre-recorded, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And so we had time to edit and to present this. Now, I'm going to park aside the artists who actually performed. Kid Rock, Lee Brice. I actually want to be clear. I love Lee Brice's music. I went to a Lee Brice concert here in town. So this is not meant to be a commentary on them, but rather at the audacity of what Turning Point USA did as an organization. Turning Point USA is effectively now running Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. Okay. No Democrat voted for Kamala Harris, voted for Biden. And then they just said, here, now you get Kamala and we're running her against Donald Trump. But Democrats had to accept that because the DNC machine just had so much money and they're like, we're just going to make her a thing. That's it. And they ignored the true metrics and just said, this is it. And then they acted aghast and shocked when Kamala Harris did not win. Turning Point USA now has so much money that they believe that similarly they can afford to outright purchase reality. They want you to believe, this is unbelievable, I'm going to walk you through how absurd this is, that when they aired this halftime performance, 6 million concurrent viewers tuned in. Just so you understand what that means. 6 million people at the same time were watching this around the world. That's what concurrent viewership means. So they decided to tune in to this Super Bowl halftime performance. And I want you to listen to that straight from Andrew Colvette's mouth. Let's bring that clip in, Don, if you can.
Andrew, I watched your show. It was great. How did you do? Do you have a sense of how many people watched?
Yeah, it was kind of blew our minds actually a little bit, Brian. And we saw at one point across all the different social channels, we saw over 10 million concurrent views. So that was adding up all of Rumble and all of our partners just on the social side. So, and now the numbers keep trickling in. I mean, right now as I'm sitting here, YouTube's numbers keep updating. And so we're trying to put it all together. What I can safely say is that we are now over 20 million viewers across just social.
I don't think so.
We haven't even gotten our partner broadcasters, their analytics. As you know, sometimes the ratings take a little while, but that's 20 million viewers. And we don't know how many people.
Guys, I have to stop and tell you there. Sorry to pause this. I try not to do that, but they inflate their numbers. Historically, they fake and inflate their numbers.
We're gathered together, 3, 4, 10 in a room watching together. So we're going to try and put a final number on that when we can. What we can safely say is over 20 million Americans tuned in to the All-American halftime show tonight.
That's what he can safely say. Now, for people who have been on YouTube, YouTubers, so to speak, like myself, for more than 10 years, I was just in awe that they were going to try to sell this, that they were going to do what he did with his face and just lie and pretend that 6 million, I think even at one point says 10 million, but it says 6 million concurrent viewers they had on YouTube alone. Okay. If you know YouTube at all, That's just not true on its face. It's actually, I laughed when I saw, I was like, this is actually crazy. I can't believe they're actually going to try to pull this off. And I'm going to walk you through this so you don't even have to have my background on YouTube to understand why this number is impossible. First and foremost,
Cool.
you can just do this test. What do we have? Right now, we have 95,000 people that are watching this show. As soon as this show concludes, I want you to see how many views YouTube is going to instantly give it right away. It's probably going to be something like 200,000 to 300,000 views right away as it continues to tabulate. This is a screenshot of their viewership after 6 million people tuned in concurrently at the exact same time. So that was 6 million people watching, like we have 95,000 people watching right now on YouTube. As soon as they finished, look at the 5,839 views with 175 comments. That is an impossible metric. But 667,000 likes. This is made up. But again, like I said, maybe you're not familiar with how YouTube works. So allow me to present it to you another way so you can really drill into your head how despicable this organization has become and there's just no association with the truth. So I'm going to present to you now the official list of the top YouTube streams based off of concurrent viewership. We're going to go through this list so that you fully appreciate what you are being asked to believe. Everything is a rich man's trick.
Nice.
That's what's happening right now. This is the highest live concurrent viewers on YouTube. These were the events. Number one was in India. That is a nation of 1.5 billion people. They had a moon mission and 8 million people in India tuned into it. That is believable, okay? Turning Point wants you to believe that they're number 2 now, okay? The next 2 through 20 are all proper football, meaning soccer in America events. You can see it's the World Cup, which is the biggest sport in the world. And when people streamed it, it looks like the 2022 World Cup comes into the second spot, Brazil versus Croatia. When it was streamed on YouTube, 6.1 million people tuned in. Again, this is the biggest sport in the world, soccer. They're trying to tell us that football, which only has a hold in America, this is a sport literally for America, and then Turning Point USA comes and they divide the fans by saying, we're doing just a conservative halftime sport, so they even halved their potential to appeal to half of the football, people that are watching football. And then on top of that, the people who are divided because they just don't like what Turning Point USA has become since Charlie was assassinated, and that their loose association, their loose relationship with the truth since Charlie was assassinated. They want you to believe that in spite of all of that, they are now, they're number 2. They broke the record. So bye-bye football around the world. It's now Turning Point USA. 6 million people turned in live to watch their Kid Rock and Lee Bryce. And there was a couple of other artists that were involved, pre-recorded performance. Okay. Now, my understanding in looking at this is that this is it. They're going to force Erika on us. Like I said, this is the Kamala thing. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We just got our hands up. We are literally victims here. They have the money, they have the power, and we're going to shut up and we're going to take it. And we're going to have to accept this audacious polling. It's going to be Andrew Colbert up on Fox News. Like, it's amazing. She is more popular than Cristiano Ronaldo. It's just, the internet loves it. YouTube loves her, and we're amazed that we pulled this thing off. That's the vibe. Okay? We no longer live in a meritocracy. And Turning Point USA are effectively the righteous gemstones now. If you don't like Erika, then it's because you don't like Jesus. If you don't like what Turning Point's become, it's because you do not like Jesus. This is our new purchased reality. And I want to really drive this point home to you. I can't even think of how many times I could underscore how absurd what they presented here is. And as a YouTuber, this offends me. People who actually put in hard work, try to produce a show, you should be offended by this, okay?
I'm offended.
I would guess that the most authentically watched event for Turning Point USA's YouTube page happened right after Charlie Kirk got assassinated. Remember, Erika first addressed the nation, and she did this in Charlie's studio. Everyone was rooting for her in this moment, waiting to see what she was going to say as the widow. If you go online right now, her address as a widow to the nation has 4.1 million views on Charlie Kirk's YouTube channel. It also has 36,000 comments. Okay, so 4 million views, 36,000 comments. If you know YouTube, that's right. They didn't fake that. That's real. I want you to compare that to the Turning Point halftime show, which, just like Biden's vote in 2020 when we slept, a bunch of more views came in on YouTube. They were like, people were like, I love it even more in the middle of the night. That now has over 20 million views. And yet, only 46,000 comments. It's impossible. It's literally made up. Like I said, you know that the Erika address is an authentic representation of views because of the views to comments ratio. I'll give you an example. My last episode, The Letter to Erika on YouTube, that got 3.1 million views. It has 28,000 comments. So almost too close for a 20 million view video. Now, why does this actually matter? Why am I spending time speaking to you about this? Because it is such a perfect analogy for what this organization has become.
Yep.
Wealthy,
Fake.
corrupt, and dishonest. Just to our faces.
Fraudulent.
It is to me so reminiscent of everything Tucker said when he got onto stage at SAS, when the Jewish donors got angry, when he questioned exactly where this money is coming from, how these people are becoming billionaires. People that are not impressive, that are not smart, are suddenly, we just learned that they're billionaires. Money is being thrown at them. And there are people who are smarter than them, who work harder than them. And he is essentially saying, we no longer live in a meritocracy. This is just a fiction, a total fiction. And I also want to stress here that what upsets me about it is it's exactly everything that Charlie Kirk hated. When we were hitting the ground, we were talking about the need for free markets. This is not an example of the free markets. This is an example of crony capitalism. It's crony capitalism. They're just, you're going to take it. This is what we're bigger than Cristiano Ronaldo. We don't know why. It's just, you had like Alex Clark shamelessly tweeting, everyone said we were over, but look at this. 100 million views. It's just fiction. So fiction that even Tyler Boyer, who happens to be a sexual deviant and also a committed homosexual part-time,
and a swinger,
is tweeting this out from Bad Bunny's performance. He actually tweeted this. Why is Turning Point USA, he wrote, why Turning Point USA ended up with one of the largest YouTube concurrent live streams in history tonight. And he shows something that he probably likes, if I'm guessing, this moment of two men dancing on each other. And of all people to tweet this, it's Tyler Boyer. It is Tyler Boyer.
He enjoys
Everything
that.
is fake. A lot of it is gay. These, again, are the righteous gemstones. And we are looking at, to me, fake Christianity. It's like Christianity Inc. Which brings us back to Fort Huachuca, by the way. Something big for you. You will recall that Mitch Snow, the man who had to deal with the full brunt of Andrew and Erika's PR machine, they were digging up his past, claiming that he was a habitual liar. Mitch was certain.
An abuser.
He was certain, and I want to be clear, he also hasn't moved his story since, not 1 inch. He was certain that he saw Erika Kirk on the evening of the 8th at Fort Huachuca, leaving a hotel with a Cabot Phillips lookalike. He has not adapted that story, despite the undue harassment that he received. In particular, after seeing Erika on the evening of the 8th, he claims that he stumbled upon what appeared to him to be the conclusion of a military briefing right before a mission taking place in a borrowed building site for the Joint Task Force, the Southern Border Unit. And he was a border unit, and he was surprised. He saw a guy wearing the JTF thing. I think he said it was JTF 10, the 10th Mountain Brigade. He's like, oh, where are you guys? I thought this was like disbanded. I used to be on this same task force, Southern Border. And they're like, no, actually, we're in this building. And you should know that that Joint Task Force initially was formed in Tucson, Arizona. Well, here is a rather explosive lead. And I'm going to say this is a lead. I'm going to cage this. It's a possibility that this does not pan out. But I'm putting this out here because I'd like a confirmation one way or the other. Last week, we introduced you guys to Tracy Martin. Remember, Tracy Martin is Erika's best friend for over 15 years. How close are Erika and Tracy? They've done everything together. Tracy says from Romanian Angels. Erika modeled for her clothing brands. All of it. These two and their families are close. She's also close to Lori, and she's close to Erika's stepfather's family, if pictures are telling us the right story. And I told you guys last week that I was having trouble learning anything about Tracy's husband. a man named Thomas Martin. It was unusual to me. He's got quite a build. He looks kind of military-esque to me, but they are also involved in fitness. They ran gyms. Well, we received this interesting tip, and I'm going to again stress that it is just a tip at this moment, but it's potentially explosive. There is a director of U.S. Border Patrol, also chief of staff of the Southern Command in Tucson, named Thomas Martin. He's been based in Tucson, Arizona since at least the 80s when he was just an agent down at the border. And he has steadily climbed up the ladder. But this particular Thomas Martin has gone through great lengths to completely wipe his public presence. I'm going to show you what's left of the LinkedIn link. You can actually click it. You can see it says Thomas Martin, Director, U.S. Border Patrol, experience, location, Greater Tucson area. Okay, we click that. That just is disappeared. Okay. Same, looking at Zoom info, we were again able to find this sort of relic. We found that he was Deputy Chief Patrol Agent at the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security, for which we know Erika, Kirk's mother, also is involved, extensive contracts with the Department of Homeland Security. Says that he's been in Customs and Border Protection for 9 years. I'm assuming that's going to continue with the Department of Homeland Security. But again, we don't know because this has been wiped. Okay. And so I started crawling through some newspapers, trying to find this person's face. Interestingly enough, we know, like I said, he's been stationed in Tucson, Arizona. That Thomas Martin on Border Patrol at least since 1985. We know this because he was actually mentioned in a lawsuit as a young agent, a lawsuit, and the content of this lawsuit is impressive. This is an old newspaper article, again, from October 21st, 1985. It appeared in the Times-Union, and it says the sanctuary movement is on trial. It tells us the story of this guy who picked up a hitchhiker, and there a movement was born, and to begin smuggling humans across the border and hiding them into churches. I kid you not. I kid you not. It tells us that these pastors, as well as priests, were working together. Southside Presbyterian Church, 2 Roman Catholic priests, a nun, and 6 church lay workers were all going on trial in Tucson for concealing illegal aliens. And this nice mention that we get of Thomas Martin, we learn that Agent Thomas Martin of the Border Patrol was writing to his superiors. Essentially, the argument that he's making is we shouldn't invade these churches because then it's going to become a talking point that, oh, look at the big bad, ICE agents that are invading churches, and we shouldn't do that. So I'm going to direct quote because he testified, and he said, he wrote to his superiors, quote, "A ploy is going to be border patrol baiting in order to demonstrate to the public that the U.S. government thinks nothing of breaking down the doors of their churches to drag Jesus Christ out to be tortured and murdered." So he's saying if we do this, it's going to be, if I'm to understand this, it's going to be a talking point. So he's making the argument that we shouldn't do it, or it's going to be a talking point. Again, where is this Thomas Martin? And I want to be clear, because you guys send tips, this is not Thomas G. Martin. If you're doing a basic search and finding another Thomas Martin who works in Border Patrol up in Buffalo, New York, his name is Thomas G. Martin. That is not the same Thomas Martin that has been in Tucson. We've obviously already investigated the obvious lead there. Please do not send us any tips about Buffalo, New York, and the other Thomas Martin. But regarding this one, please do send us tips to more tips, at CandaceOwens.com, because we'd like to know, maybe somebody worked with this Thomas Martin. Again, we know that he's been living in the Tucson area for decades, at least up until 2011. I can find a record of him working with the Southern Command, and that is interesting. Lastly, I've also received a solid tip, and this is shocking, that Tracy's daughter is actually Erika's assistant. I'll put an allegedly there because we've got to confirm that information. But the source knows these people. And remarkably, this is the shocking part, and this I don't have to put in allegedly because I have text messages from September 11th. Tracy told friends that her daughter, possibly Erika's assistant, was supposed to be at UVU on September 10th, but Tracy had a bad feeling about it. Erika's
Oh,
best friend had a bad feeling about what was going to happen on September 10th. Yep. And so she stopped her daughter, Erika's assistant, from going. Tracy had a divine intuition that her daughter should not go to UVU, but she didn't share that with Erika about maybe she should have said her husband shouldn't have gone to
interesting.
UVU. Maybe if you would share that, if it's your best friend, maybe did Erika talk to her alleged assistant about that? Hey, maybe we shouldn't go. My mom's saying I shouldn't go because she's a bad feeling something bad's going to happen. And then something bad does happen. And it's like, thank God Tracy didn't send her daughter because she had a bad intuition. But did she share that with Erika? Does that sound right to you guys? Is that tracking for you guys at all?
That's weird.
Look, I don't know what's going on, but I know that it is not what they are telling us is going on. Okay, I'll leave it at that. And we will take a quick break and be back after some sponsors.
Maybe Tracy
All right, you guys, thanks to you.
was
Last
the
year, Preborn
witch.
helped rescue over 80,000.
Remember how they thought that a witch was Erika claims that he was worried, Charlie was worried about the witch who like said bad things and cast a spell. That's really crazy. And Arizona is so shady, which is so weird why Savannah Guthrie's mom went missing. She's in Arizona. It makes me wonder, as we were sitting here watching this and listening, it really made me wonder if maybe Savannah was trying to do a story on what happened to Charlie Kirk, or if she was getting tips from people in Arizona, or if her mom told her something. Because the timing is shady. The fact that it was in Arizona is shady. The fact that a lot of the people connected with TPUSA and Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk, it's shady. It's super shady. So, yeah, I don't know. Hope says totally weird. Cisco says a witch, Monty Python reference. Oh, wow, Monty Python. I haven't thought about those guys in so long. Very weird coincidences, which, Erica says there are no coincidences, right? I don't think there are, with none. And do you think Andrew Colvett, is he too dumb to know that they are making him the fall guy and that they're making him sit out there saying false inflated numbers, or do you think he's part of it? I think Andrew's happy to be part of it. Okay,
That I
she's
had
back.
been quietly working on to confirm the date for. I'm just going to throw this in here on that same topic. I had mentioned to you guys a while ago that on June 19th, Erika purged her Instagram of a lot of
Yeah.
pictures, 126 posts she deleted. And I had wondered what drove that. Why would you delete 126 posts off of your Instagram page? And when I did my master timeline, I realized that this was the time when things were really heating up with Israel and Iran. I had mentioned that to you in the past. And I had wondered to myself if she had moved to do that after Charlie beat Bibi Netanyahu in a debate and all of his Zionist thugs at the White House, and he had convinced Trump that he should have just a limited military, limited military operation in Iran, which ended up being Operation Midnight Hammer. Well, I can now confirm that the date that Charlie went into the White House and went up like toe to toe with Bibi Netanyahu's and his thugs who wanted more action in Iran, and he won, was on June 18th. So to make that very clear, on June 18th, Charlie goes head to head with the Zionists and Bibi Netanyahu, who are trying to convince Trump that there needs to be more action in Iran, that America should get behind. Obviously, Charlie's in there showing like the base is going to hate this. Don't do that. That's a very bad idea. And Charlie wins. Tucker spoke about that. You can go find the clips of Tucker speaking about the fact that Charlie spoke up for America, really spoke up for Americans and said, don't do this.
He was right.
No wars. Keep this as a limited operation. That's June 18th. The very next day on June 19th, Erika purges her Instagram. She deletes 126 posts. I had wondered if that was the way it went, that Charlie pissed off Bibi and then Erika purged her Instagram. I don't know what to make of that, but I wanted to give you guys that data point, which is from our master timeline. Okay, switching gears here, not entirely. Something else that's on our master timeline is, of course, this Hamptons thing, which it was so strange. There were so many lies that came out of this. Also credit to Max Blumenthal, broke this story that Charlie had this, as we had described it, a very heated confrontation, and he was being pushed by Zionists about his shifting support for Israel. They all came out and gave these clean, buttoned-up statements saying that wasn't true. They described it as, it was just like, tossing some ideas to him. And Charlie said, well, it was just like a spirited debate, they said. And I said, no. Max Blumenthal said no as well. That's not what went down in the Hamptons. No, they were pressing Charlie. He was stressed out by it, and things got heated. He was being yelled at. They always disputed this narrative. Well, enter in this hero, Carrie Prejean Bowler, and she is Catholic. I'm going to state that because it's just Catholic ganging right now. This morning, there was a Religious Liberty Commission hearing on anti-Semitism, and Seth Dillon gets up there of the Babylon Bee. He was the chief. Him and Natasha were the chiefs of pressing Charlie in the Hamptons, okay? And Seth Dillon's just supposed to be the funny guy testifying from the Babylon Bee about the rise of anti-Semitism and what are we going to do? And Carrie took it as an opportunity, since he's under oath. When you testify, you're actually under oath, to ask him about a variety of topics. First and foremost, she presses him because he was also one of the chiefs of Christ is King is anti-Semitic. And she questions him on that perspective. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
On their social media platform, would you label that an anti-Semitic if you're looking into the context of what they're saying, or if they just say it, Christ is King? Like,
it could be.
Why
You
are we
have
analyzing
to
that?
look at the context. Yeah.
But I would say that's anti-Christian if you're analyzing why I'm saying Christ is King.
No, saying the phrase Jesus Christ is not taking the Lord's name in vain unless you're doing it in a certain context, right? There's context matters.
Yeah, so going back to Candace Owens, when she worked for Daily Wire, your friend Ben fired her because she said Christ is King.
And I never said that what she said was anti-Semitic.
Okay, but you're calling her an anti-Semite.
Oh, yes, because she said way worse than that.
Okay, let's move on, because everyone seems to be obsessed with Candace. My last question, why were you at the Hamptons?
Can just real quick.
Why were you at the Hamptons?
Do you think that anything Candace has said is anti-Semitic?
No, I don't.
Nothing, ever. That's interesting.
I mean, I listen to her daily.
You should look up more of
I haven't
her
heard one
statements.
thing out of her mouth that I would say is anti-Semitic.
It's just dripping off of him, like the evil, the dishonesty. He then goes on to say a bunch of things that I never, ever, ever said, of course, because they have to just make things up. And he's like, no, she now says outwardly what she thinks about Jews, and there's no separation between Zionists and Jews. Yes, there is. Half the time I'm attacking these Christian Zionists for the exact same reason, where they're trying to sell to us racial supremacy, which is really just Israeli supremacy, right? And telling us that if we don't worship Israel, it's problematic.
Yeah,
and gratefully, she gets up and she calls him on that. She's like, "What are you even speaking about?" And so then she, as you see, she's kind of setting the groundwork for. She decides to move to the topic of the Hamptons, and here is what Seth Dillon had to say.
The Hamptons meeting was a retreat called by Charlie. It was. I don't know if many of you are familiar with this. I'll give you a little context, but there was a claim that was made that an intervention was staged with Charlie, where people pulled him into a room in a very aggressive manner, pressured and blackmailed him because they felt like he was straying away from his support for Israel. That was the claim. The Hamptons retreat, and that was the Hamptons retreat was characterized that way. It was not like that. There were about 30 people there, handpicked and invited by Charlie personally. He brought us there. He stood at the front of the room with a microphone throughout the thing. The theme of it was Save the West. His primary focus was on the threat of Islam, the problem of Islam. There was heated and spirited debate about the issue of Israel in the room, but it was debate that Charlie himself initiated, and he wanted to hear different perspectives on it. And so we voiced a lot of our perspectives. One of the things that I disagreed with him on was he said that, if you're not sufficiently supportive of Israel, it can be really ruinous for you in a position like his.
Yeah.
If you criticize Israel at all, they'll try to denigrate you and destroy you and call you names, call you anti-Semitic, etc. And it can ruin you. And I said, yeah, certainly that's true, but it can also be very costly to stand up to those people. And I gave the example of my own experience where I criticized I criticized the critics of Israel, and they tried to destroy me. And so, we can all, whine and cry about the consequences of what might happen if we say certain things, but everybody has a right to give their opinion and say what they think. So there was back and forth like that. But there were many people that came out and made statements afterwards that it was completely mischaracterized. And that was really evil what she did, to lie about a situation like that and try to portray it as though the Jews were trying to blackmail Charlie. That resulted in death threats.
She never said
She
that.
absolutely said that.
No, she didn't.
She put my face on a movie poster for I Know What You Did Last Summer, suggesting that I had a role in his murder. Like I played a role in his murder. That's why someone tried to kill me and my family and got arrested in Texas.
I just love Zionists. No matter what, they can be a victim. She put my name on it. She put my face on a thumbnail of I Know What You Did Last Summer. An objectively hilarious thing that I did. Go me. That is fantastic. And he wants us to think that it almost led to his murder. There are such crimes. They mass murder children overseas and defend it and explain it away. Zionists, that's actually what's happening. And then you put them on a little thumbnail poster, as in I Know What You Did Last Summer, because that's punny. Okay? It is. And we're speaking about the Hamptons. And now he's like, I almost got killed. I almost died. It's so not okay. It's evil. No, what's evil is you lied. And now you're adjusting your story. Everybody go back and watch the clips of them discussing what happened in the Hamptons. And she is correct. I never said that he was blackmailed. Charlie described what happened in the Hamptons as he was being morally blackmailed. And by the way, you can find clips of Charlie speaking about how he felt that he was being morally blackmailed over his position on Israel. Those are Charlie's words, not mine. And he felt he was being morally blackmailed because of what Seth Dillon did. So first, Seth Dillon's perspective was it was just a nice, lovely, spirited debate. Now he's changing this and he admits that it got heated. Oh, where was that? Why couldn't acknowledge that it got heated before, Seth, when we were saying that that was true and that's what happened? And by the way, they never want to touch the fact, even when they all came out, these carefully orchestrated legal type statements to be like, oh, nothing happened in the Hamptons. No one even wanted to touch the fact that Bibi Netanyahu called, which I told you happened. Everything I said was true. It got heated. Charlie was being pressed. He was so stressed about what happened in the Hamptons that it spilled over into his conversation with Megyn Kelly. Kudos to Megyn for telling the truth about how he was feeling. Kudos to Tucker Carlson for telling the truth about how he was feeling. They were just, oh no, they told us Charlie never even flinched on Israel. Now he's saying it got heated. Well, why would it get heated? Was this a mock debate as they tried to present it? Like, it was, why would it get heated? If Charlie's position was not shifting, why would it get heated? Can somebody explain that to me? If he just got heated about how much he loved Israel in the room. He's like, I'm just so angry that people don't get how much I love it. I love it. And Seth was like, I know. Ah! And they got angry and heated because they both just loved Israel. That's what they wanted us to believe. It is obnoxious. They lie, but they feel nothing when they lie. Okay? Just like Josh Hammer, that is Seth Dillon. They all lied about what happened in the Hamptons. It was heated. Charlie was pressed. I said that factually because I had eyewitness reports of exactly what happened. And it is a fact. Bibi Netanyahu called. Erika says he didn't offer to take Turning Point to the next level. Okay, Erika. And
they lied about that from the beginning.
He did offer to take Turning Point to the next level. And now he wants to go back and not address that point again. Because everything I told you was true. Charlie said no to Bibi Netanyahu. He didn't even want Bibi Netanyahu on his radio show. He was so done with Israel. Anybody care to fact check that? Did Bibi Netanyahu reach out to go on Charlie's podcast when he was doing the podcast rounds in July or August, whenever it was? The answer is I'm telling the truth. Okay? I am telling the truth. And the only reason they are lying about this, in my view, is because you only lie when you have something to hide. And it feels like motive. It feels like motive. They're protecting Bibi and they're protecting this narrative because there's a motive. Otherwise, you just say, yeah, I got into an argument with him. Kind of sucked. I wish that wasn't the last time I saw him. If you were an honest person and you had nothing to hide, that's what you would say. I'd say, man, I really regret that those are my last words to him. Life is short. It was so stupid. I don't even really care about his opinion on Israel anymore, man. I just feel terrible. Nope. They all said, Candace is a liar. And now we're slowly getting the truth about what got heated, what they were discussing. Charlie feeling, as he even describes it, morally blackmailed, telling him that it's ruinous. If you say anything about Israel, it's suddenly ruinous to your career. And Seth was fired up. Not Josh Hammer, I will say. It wasn't Josh Hammer. I got all fired up in that room. It was Seth. And Seth, you just look like a liar. I just want you to know that. You just like your whole presence there. If you guys go back and watch it, the way he's like stumbling over his word, he's just lying. He just is lying. And I like the nice little touch of the Babylon Bee, because now that we're getting into your true guiding theology, which is not Judaism, by the way, it makes perfect sense. You are not the funny guy at all. You are, in my view, completely unhinged, and you should feel remorse for what you put Charlie through in the end. You should have come online and had some sort of a conscience about telling the public lies about your last encounter with him. But of course you don't. That just kind of seems to be the entire Zionist narrative these days. You guys do to others and then constantly pretend you are the victims, including of a poster. Hey, Seth, I know what you did last summer. Okay. We will be back after a brief break. All right, you guys, as a mother, I have learned that comfort.
And she's right. You know, the more that we see of our government, to TPUSA, who's really in tight with the government, they're always over there meeting, and we still don't know what the meeting was about. Last week that we heard about with, was it Andrew and little Mikey McCoy? I don't know why I called him little Mikey. He seems like a little brother type, like, oh, little Mikey, moldable, groomable. But they don't even care, and it's right in our face, and they don't even care, and it's like they're laughing and they have no conscience. Like, they feel like, and they believe there is nothing we can do about it. So in a way, it makes me kind of nervous that they feel like that, because I'm like, what do they have? Why do they feel so secure, other than they've been getting away with it for all these years? Why do they feel secure to just flaunt it in our face now? So do they have something that makes them feel secure? Do they know the mechanisms that they have and the plans that they have laid that we don't know yet? Or really, are they just so emboldened because they've gotten away with it for so long? Now that makes me feel hopeful, because if it is the fact that they're emboldened because they've gotten away with it for so long, that's when they get sloppy, and that's how we can find truth and really come in there. And there are some things we can do about it. Probably the reality is it's probably a little bit of both, right? So that's why it's so important, I feel like, for content creators, for the online, sleuths, for the mommy daddy sleuths, to be able to be here and digging into this like we are, and coming together as a community of truth seekers and sayers, because we're the only ones who will and can do it.
The website, if you would like to know why Emmanuel Macron is gay, you can certainly find that new merch available on the website. To support our show in general, that is what you can do. You can head to CandaceOwens.com, buy some merch, and we stay independent. We do not go which way the wind is blowing, and we don't have people breathing over us telling us what we have to say. Also, I'd love to get to 100,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can do that this year. I'm setting my New Year's goal late here. We've merged our subscription tiers into one Club Candace tier for $11.99 a month, or you can do $120 for the entire year. The book club is where we go a lot deeper on a lot of these topics, because we can, because we are on our website. So there you go. Top comment from the last episode, which was my Dear Erika episode. I did see how viral that went on TikTok, and I do want to thank TikTokers for being objectively hilarious in the comment section with your memes. I don't know what is wrong with TikTokers. You're very funny, but you're bad, and you're the reason Israel's taking over TikTok. I want you to know that it's your fault. Top comment from last episode regarding that episode is, when they planned this, they did not plan on Candace. Yeah, I don't think evil ever plans on goodness or anything that's genuine, and my relationship with Charlie was genuine. I knew who he was and who his faults were, and he was just like a kid brother, that's all I can say, who annoyed me in many ways, and I'm sure I annoyed him in many ways. But he did not deserve that ending. GN2176 writes, Candace, thank you for all that you are doing in this investigation. As I watch this story unfold, it appears that a book is being written about Charlie Kirk's trial leading up to a September 10th execution. Like St. Thomas More, I wonder if Charlie Kirk was also a man for all seasons. I did not know that there was a book that was being written. I'm not shocked about that at all. I'd be interested to learn more about who is writing that book. Jay Nichols
Erika,
writes, I went back to the
Andrew,
first post after September
Tyler,
10th, and I had forgotten the progression of this journey. Side note,
Ben
where did you get
Shapiro.
your cloud shirt? Truth is, the only thing that is undeniable. I wish I knew you personally. We could be best friends, cut from the same cloth. I don't know which cloud shirt you're speaking about. Which cloud shirt? I would
Oh,
assume
yeah, that was last week, I think.
the blue sweater. I got that in
Yeah.
London. I actually get basically all my clothes from London. I try to buy everything once a year because they have so many cute boutiques and they just have things that I feel like are not available elsewhere. So got that in London. Jay Nichols writes, I went back to the, oh, I just read that. Leslie writes, I'm so grateful for you, your resolve and integrity. Thank you for continuing to give us hope that truth and goodness will prevail. I'm curious, have Charlie's parents reached out to you to validate all that you are doing to seek justice for Charlie? No, I have not. And we are still working through some of the tips. I have not received any communication from them. I will tell you that they have always been exceedingly private. Like I have met them maybe a handful of times in the early Turning Point USA days. I know they went to a couple of events. I've never met his sister. And a lot of people ask about that, whether or not their silence means something. They are obviously genuinely mourning having lost Charlie, and they have always
Yeah.
abstained. So that is not new. Nance the Rock writes, thank you, Candace, for your amazing work. Alicia writes, I have been perplexed as to why Erika would so willingly accept the Fed slop and the trust our judicial system narrative regarding Tyler Robinson. It just hit me that, of course, she would accept the narrative as long as they were looking at anyone else and not her or TPUSA. What I will say is anybody telling you that questioning the people around who have a potentially $1 billion motive for the person not to be there is asking you to be an idiot. They're asking you to be the kind of person that looks at 6 million concurrent viewers for a halftime special that only appeared on YouTube and basically told half of the nation F you is just as big as the World Cup. Like it's ridiculous. And it feels like that's the direction of travel of wind lately, right? Like that is the direction of travel, that they want us to accept stupidity and to just go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they can make anybody they want a celebrity because they have power and they have resources and they have PR team. And the next morning they wake up and they just have a bunch of people have Andrew Colvin on and say, yep, we did it. We broke a world record. We are contending, this is literal, we are contending to break a Guinness Book of World Record. That's what they're doing. If those numbers are to be believed, they're going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And what that says is they have no faith in us. They think we are stupid and easily manipulated. And I'm happy that we are at least disproving them of that notion. Schley Walt writes, thank you for finally calling it the Righteous Gemstones. I have been trying to tell everyone. I haven't even watched the show, but I kind of got the vibe of it. I saw something online that was posted. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's that. For sure.
It sure
This
is.
person, Ani, writes, Candace, are you on Up Scrolled? Please share your name. No, I'm not. I think someone made an account for me. I know that's like contending with Twitter. That is not the real, that ain't the real Candace. So that's what I'll tell you. Amy O writes, I love that there is a clip of Erika speaking to Megan that confirms your recollection of lights flickering, yet people were calling you a witch. Stay Max. P.S. Thank you for reading comments last week. I stand by saying that you are Charlie's David. Yeah, I saw them. They were trying to like make that fetch. By the way, first and foremost, that's a real condition. I actually want to find it. That is a real thing that people go through. And I don't know why that should shock you. Like there are all sorts of things, like people who can, they see colors when they hear sounds. I don't know if they consider this to be disorders or what it is. I know Kanye has that. Like people visually, people can hear things that are not the same. And there are a ton of people. I'm going to look this up. Actually, you guys wait right here. Lights flickering near you. I don't know what they call it, a syndrome. It has an official name. Oh, it's called SLI. It's literally called street light interference, which is a phenomenon where people claim that causes streetlights to turn off or flicker upon approach, or also known as a medical condition of photosensitive epilepsy, seizures that are triggered by flashing and strobing and flickering lights. So I don't know what to say to you. Like Erika's telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. Like that's just a random thing to make up, that when Charlie ran, streetlights went out. It's just real. And if you go into the comments of people on the GATE program, if you go back to our episode where we were discussing the GATE program, yeah, there's a lot of that. So that was strange. I don't know. I didn't say I don't even know what people were trying to construe from that. It's so strange. And then people who were going, oh, you're speaking about the third eye. This is demonic. Couple of things. Yes, Charlie spoke to me about his third eye, and I have that in writing. And for those of you who are saying that that's demonic, I would like to remind you that having a conversation, if you want to call it third eye or pineal glands, you have like people, the government that is trying to poison your pineal glands. That's a fact. If you look at fluoride, all that is very real. But to suggest that someone speaking to someone, by the way, I wasn't even a Catholic in 2018, so that was a weird thing they were trying to like push. I have the messages that he was speaking to me about his third eye, and my guess from what I discerned in the context of that conversation was that sort of a thing, which I think his coach, or I don't know who that guy was that he was working with, is what ultimately actually brought Charlie to the Christian faith. That's the context, and I can show you those messages another time, maybe tomorrow, but he had a bad experience. So there's that as well. So I wasn't entirely clear on why I'm always in trouble for telling you the truth about what Charlie told me, and which I have in writing. Like, I don't know what anybody was getting from that anyway. I was telling the truth. I continue to tell the truth, and no one has been able to disprove me on any notion. But I saw them trying to push that, like, oh, she's like summoning demons or something. I was like, or I'm telling you about a real life conversation that me and Charlie had in 2018. Anyway, you guys, a lot to unpack. Again, if you know anything about this particular Thomas Martin, not the Thomas G. Martin who works up in Buffalo, in New York, but the Thomas Martin that has been working with the Southern Command, please send us an email, more tips at CandaceOwens.com. It would be an interesting dot to connect if so. Anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, Candace. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll end up seeing what the actual numbers are, and see if they want to correct those numbers at all. My guess is they won't want to correct them, because I feel like ever since Trump came into office, these strategies are exactly Trump's strategies. And I feel like they're more in our face than we've ever seen them before, of literally just lying, and they're just doubling and tripling down and throwing out fake numbers and all of that. And for a while, I think the world was eating it up until they see that things aren't happening the way they were promised to happen. So we're seeing that now. We're seeing it play out. So we'll see you tomorrow. Again, at some point this week we'll change to the new format with me coming on first for the pre-show, and then coming out, and then going back in to another live with Candace. We'll see. I'm still thinking on that, guys. Like I told you before, a lot of times I just think about it. I'm telling you what I'm thinking about, and then I'll actually do something. But Cisco, I think streetlights might be triggered by magnetic changes near them. Yeah, I used to jog in an area where a certain streetlight would always turn off. Yeah, I mean we have electrical current running through us. I mean, when we touch antennas, and radio and stuff, I have a hard time. Watches, anything with a battery, if I have to wear it, it will go out so quickly. It's wild. It's unbelievable. I can't do watches that have like the typical battery, because they won't last with me. And of course, the antenna. I think that happens with everybody, right? You touch it, but it makes sense. And so if somebody has, especially if he was as energetic and, that as everybody, says, maybe he has more. Some people have more electrical current running through them. Some people have more static electricity. Actually, I touched a light in my studio here, especially when it's dry in here. I touched it and it popped it, made it turn off. It was pretty wild. But yeah. Kelly, hi. My dad. I haven't seen you here before. Welcome. My dad is that way with watches. Yeah, it's crazy. I can't keep a watch, but so I'm pretty good. The Apple Watch, I think it drains pretty quickly, but those things are getting worse and worse with the battery life. Yeah, I think Yeah, Cisco, certain people emit certain frequencies. Definitely, we are all different frequencies. If you guys are new here, go back and like I've always come on before Candace, so there are things that I talk about in there that are super interesting. There's one I talk about where our twins, we went through in vitro and our twins when they were transferred, there was a zip of electricity I felt. Anyways, there's really some interesting stuff that I talk about in the pre-show. I think you guys will find interesting and intriguing and maybe give you at least something to think about. But it's good stuff. I really appreciate you all being here. Cisco, thank you. Retro Plank wasn't here today. Letters wasn't here today, but I appreciate you, Jats and Cisco, and good to see you in here, Kelly. And we'll see you tomorrow and see you soon. Bye bye.
This is a better life. From scars to stars, from pain to bulletproof. Teresa, better life. A better life with you. Talking news, pop culture life, love and scandal, heart to heart. Teresa, better life. Real is where the reset starts. No playing small. We rise, we fall. We laugh, we do it all. A better life is one brave call. Teresa, better life. Let's build a better life. Let's build a better life. A better life. Teresa, better life.